to work. So I did not want to work for a company like I did before. I didn't want to work for the big Fortune 5s who were going to give me nonsense and tell me things about showing up when my performance was on point. So luckily I got in touch with Heartland. Heartland is entrepreneurs serving entrepreneurs. We have a relationship model. We work with people. If I'm in Chicago and I meet someone, I can work with them. I don't have to stick to a segment, and we're allowed to help businesses grow. So I'm not going to sit here and talk about our services. You guys see that right there. You guys are all going to get an email, and my business cards are up here. I'm not handing you a million things in marketing, but I'd love to hear your stories because that's what I came here for today. Thank you, and I'll see you guys later.
Thank you. That was amazing. He's also going to be doing stand-up in the near future, so, and that's not a joke. He's actually going to be doing that. So, we're going to jump right into the panel now, and let me introduce our wonderful and very talented VCs and investors. I'll start with Phil. You can share your story. Let us know who you are, what you do, I guess the types of deals that you do too, the different industries that you work with, all of that.
You want me to start now? All right, I'll keep it brief. Phil Michael, I'm the founder of New York Equity Group. We're a private equity company, and we have a dual-track business model. I'm going to keep it brief. On one end, we have a real estate development portfolio, and on the other end, we have a tech portfolio where we invest in early-stage startups in the media and real estate industry. So that's pretty much the gist of it. If you have questions, just come find me later. We need to get the ball rolling here. So New York Equity Group, NYEG.
What's the website?
I don't need a website. Yeah, I don't need that.
All right, and we have David Segura.
Close enough. It's Segura, but most people don't bother pronouncing it, so just go by David. It's fine. I'm an angel investor. Don't really have a formal company. I do have a few entities, and a few domains. You can email me if you wanted to at david@jelloshots.com, but that's when I was younger. I didn't actually commercialize that business. So my background is that I was in LA for many years after graduating from University of Chicago. Worked at a few startups, had my ups and downs, and then I started a company called Giant Media, which was one of the original kind of native video exchanges. Basically, we were a company in the middle that would distribute content, essentially, mostly video, on behalf of people like Dollar Shave Club, American Express, B of A, a whole bunch of other people, and we'd essentially arbitrage that by distributing that through apps and different publishers. Honestly, right place, right time. My roommate and I didn't really realize that video was going to blow up, but it did. So I started that and was fortunate enough to be able to sell that in 2014. After that, I got pushed to move to New York. Took me a while to get used to it, but here I am. Worked for the acquiring company for a year and a half. Predictably hated that. Nobody wants to work for a big company after being an entrepreneur. And for the last year and a half, I more or less took time off to travel and do a lot of angel investing. So I think on my bio for this event it said 30, but it's actually 45 now. Interested in all sorts of stuff from blockchain and crypto, marketplaces, invested in ease, so definitely marijuana, things like that. And then, because crypto is so immersive and I want to learn as much as I can, I actually joined one of those companies that I invested in, a company called Carbon. It's a stablecoin company based here in New York, and I believed in the company so much that I'm actually technically competing with two of my other investments, including Trust Token and Basis. Not sure how they feel about that, but whatever. That's me.
And we have Adriel from Flybridge.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Adriel. I'm an investor at Flybridge Capital Partners. We're a Boston, New York City-based early stage venture capital firm. Been around almost 20 years now, investing out of our fourth fund. Our focus is really being the first institutional check for a company. So what that means, we're writing 500K, million plus size checks across all industries. So B2B, consumer, enterprise, blockchain companies. Our focus is really just working with our companies for the next 5, 7, 10 plus years.
So I'm gonna start off with a very general question for you guys, since we have, I would probably say like 75% founders in the room. And we'll probably just go in the same order, since it's a question that all of you, we'd like to hear your thoughts on. What do you want to see in a startup or business when you're meeting them for the first time, or you're gonna make that investment into them?
You want me to
Super
go first?
general.
Yeah, it's a pretty big,
first.
it's a pretty big question. But basically, you want to make sure you look at the people on the team. What is their track record? One of the first things I look at, I assess their drive, their commitment. What is their goal? Do they have a targeted niche that they're trying to penetrate? Also, the management team, the founding team, have they had an exit before? If so, that's a plus, because they know how to get it to the finish line. If it's some guys that just have an idea, generally pass. I honestly don't think twice about it. Call that filth. But if it's something, but if it's a team that really shows, if they've gotten traction, that's very, very important. And if the money that they're seeking for the investment is to actually, they've pretty much tapped out what they can do on their own, and they need to scale it, that's when you want to get in my opinion.
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's kind of like classic question, so to speak. It's a little bit of a chicken and egg problem, if we're being honest with each other, right? Because everyone's always going to tell you something like, I need traction. And you're going to respond, well, I need money.
No.
Yeah, but I'll be honest, especially in New York. I mean, the Bay Area, you can walk down the street and the VC will throw money at you, but not in New York, not in LA, not in most of the world. Yeah, that's true. So I think what makes the most sense, that you want to show that you have a strong team, the problem you're trying to solve is relevant, specific to your background. But I think on top of that, you need to also set expectations. In other words, the people that are the best at raising money, at least in my experience, pretty much set things up in such a way where they can't basically they're going to succeed. So they'll start out a meeting, they'll build a relationship, and then over the next few meetings, those milestones that they had laid out to measure success, all of a sudden, lo and behold, they've done it. So in other words, the one thing I'd encourage you to practice is not just your pitch. Most entrepreneurs can learn that. They communicate with passion, it's great. But there's a second type of pitch, and it's essentially managing expectations, setting quantitative milestones, and just learning basically to meet those. Then investors start to build confidence with you. They start to decide that they're willing to take a risk, essentially.
I agree with everything they said. Definitely the most important thing we look at when we're meeting with companies is the team. We call this founder market fit. So do they have some sort of unique advantage or unique insight into an industry? And then do they have is there something about them that makes them special as an entrepreneur? Another thing we look at, just as an institutional fund, we also have investors. So part of our investment model is we think about, can we get a 50x return on our money? So a lot of times when we're looking at investments, maybe it might be different than somebody who's just a high net worth individual investing to a company, or even an angel investor. Every single time we look at investment, we want to see some sort of path to likely $1 billion plus valuation within the company, and that's primarily due just because of the economic model of our fund.
That was great. You guys all brought up team, right? And then building relationships. So real quick before I jump into the other question, do you guys have any advice for all these founders in the room on how to build a strong team? What have you seen from founders what were their tactics on building their team up? How did they recruit high valuable team members or co-founders or executives on their team to take them to the next step? If someone's coming in by themselves, do you guys still consider that for an investment as well? And then give them any tips on how to find co-founders and stuff?
Can I go on this one?
Yeah.
All right. So if you can if you can have a co-founder or somebody buy into your idea, essentially they're making an investment in your company. So in a way, that shows that you have the ability and the passion and the persuasion to get someone to buy into what you want to do, your vision, what have you. So that's really a good sign if you can get a co-founder. And what's the rest of the question, Mike?
Just any tips on
Oh,
how
any
to
tips.
find
All
a
right.
co-founder?
Couple things. The DNA. What type of drive do they have? Are they punctual? Can you do they overpromise and underdeliver, or vice versa? You want somebody that does the opposite, obviously. And things like that, just basic characteristics that goes a long way into seeing what kind of team member you have. And yeah, that's really the main thing. I would look at like DNA and reliability. That's really the main thing.
That was awkward. Yeah, so I don't want to discourage anyone. You know, everyone's on their own journey, everyone's on their own path, and so just, you know, trust your instincts first and foremost. But I will say I do meet a lot of people that, you know, tell me something like, I'm not technical, but, you know, I'm going to hire a team, you know, and, you know, wherever, and they're going to solve the problem. I guess technically by the strict definition, since I don't really code well, like I'm not technical either. But at the same time too, like, I mean, one way or another, whether it's like a childhood friend, someone from college, someone that someone else has introduced you to, you have to get out there, whether it's like networking, conferencing, hanging out, you gotta meet people. Like for me, like I totally understand like why maybe a project isn't moving forward because you don't have a technical co-founder, but whether the VC or angel admits it to you or not, like I mean, I'm pretty chill, but I'm unusually blunt. They're not gonna give you any money basically to outsource your project to some other place where you don't really control like the end destiny. So that's the first piece of advice I give you is like find your founder no matter how long it takes.
Not only do you want to find a founder, speak from an investor standpoint, we want to de-risk our investments, of course, by understanding that you guys are complementing your skill sets and your experience with other individuals. And to his point, it's also, if you can basically recruit another co-founder, it shows an investment into you, just from a human capital standpoint. But the other thing is actually it's for yourself. If you are on a journey to build a company, and if this is something you're going to spend 24/7 on for a long period of time, it's not something you necessarily want to do by yourself. You want people who are going to help you and stand with you and support you through the process. So finding somebody who you can really connect with and who wants to be on the journey with you is going to be super important. And whatever skills that they might, complement with you, like as long as you guys have multiple, people who are going to actually be on the journey together and are all passionate about the project, then at least it says something.
Also, if I can add to that, some actual tools where to find them. I realized I didn't even say that. Angel.co is a great resource. We found we have a media company in our portfolio. We found some tremendous co-founders there. One who sold her first company at 23 for $1 million, raised 1.1 million at 24 for a fintech startup, came on board to run the media startup. So that's one way you can find at events like this. Just being passionate and having that drive that really goes a long way, in my opinion. If I could just.
Yeah. One method I've seen that's how people find co-founders when they're working in a specific industry. Let's say they're thinking about fintech, and if you find somebody in an organization that you admire, or let's say you're looking at someone who's works at JP Morgan or one of Citibank, something like that. If you go to them and you say, I want feedback on my company, or I want advice, it's a good way to start introducing yourself and start building a relationship. Whether or not they end up becoming a co-founder, people can get excited about joining a startup. I've seen a lot of different people who found their co-founders going to kind of the incumbents or the legacy companies and recruiting them that way.
Yeah, that's all wonderful advice, guys. From my experience and the people that I found to help me with my company, has mostly been at events. Going to networking events like this, hosting your own events, getting yourself out there, just angel.co, putting up a job listing. Like, I get emails still all the time from people on there, developers, whatnot, all the time. A lot of what our app is going to solve is this problem as well, because we're going to be getting all of these entrepreneurs in one place and whatnot too. So we're also working on, this issue of helping people find these co-founders in their team, because it is so important, and the more people you can get to buy into an idea, the more powerful it can become, and the more money you'll be able to get to with investments, because now you can show that people are buying into your idea and they're making an investment with time as well. So I thought that this was a really important, just like few minutes on, so I hope you guys are taking notes on that. My next kind of topic is pitch decks, right? So it's one of the most popular things that founders work on. It's one of the most popular things that they send to investors. And I've actually talked with Phil about this topic previously too. And it's something that I'm always looking for feedback on myself. So if you guys want to go through, if you have any do's or don'ts with pitch decks, kind of like what you look for, what people should include.